clarification for next time. But it seems like the topic about time was so brief, and I think that's such a huge subject that I think you could apply probably a lot of reasoning and into some truths.
Yeah, I didn't go very mystical, did I?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was hoping for the
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, let's think about it.
Did you drop down a few schools because of our energy?
Yeah.
Sometimes you really do have to be people rad.
You like start talking to them from the second school?
Yeah.
Are you second school with me?
He's totally dropping down.
Are we rolling?
We're rolling.
Alright. Okay. So I think we'll do the reading to cover the last of the homework bit and to do a tiny bit of logic. There's one more homework question I didn't cover. I think I got most of the rest of everything else. But we need to do the 14, and I think this will help us do the reading. The 14 parts of a syllogism. And again, it's just more details so that we really understand what we're doing. So if we take the syllogism we've used before, which is a little bit boring, but like I said, you can textualize it, then it's more exciting. Consider sound. It's changing. Right? Yeah, it's changing because it's made. So then we're just going to do the parts of that, so we know what all the parts are. Okay. So part number one is the subject. What's the subject?
Sound.
Sound. Pretty easy. What's the assertion?
It's changing.
It's changing.
Yeah, so I'm going to write sound is changing. Be explicit. What's the quality to be proven? That just means changing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of the assertion. So quality to be proven is part of the assertion. Explicit form of quality to be proven.
The way it's changing? Without.
It's the same thing.
This is number 4?
Yeah. The only thing I have different is, for this one I wrote, maybe that's significant, so maybe I should write that down. Being a changing thing. And this one is changing.
So what's the definition for 3 and 4?
So 3 is quality to be proven. So changing thing is a quality. And then 4 is explicit form of quality to be proven is the thing. And then 5 is called the implicit quality being proven. And here what they did was they stuck in the definition. So only lasts a moment. So what's the implication of being a changing thing? Changing thing only lasts for a moment. 6, the position denied. What do you think that is?
That it's not changing.
Yeah. Yeah. That sound is unchanging. Or the sound is not changing. That's fine. 7 is quality denied. So what would that be?
Unchanging.
Yeah. Being, well, technically being unchanging, right? If I follow mine. And 8 is similar cases. So what's that? We did a class on that.
Synonyms with change, with like made, changing.
Yeah,
Working.
yeah, yeah.
So this
Well, what I wrote down was all changing
Changing
things.
things.
Yeah, so any changing thing would be a similar case. So I guess more similar examples
It's
is
the-
better. Because similar case, I would think is cause result working.
Is it all the other chair drugs? Or all the? Is it the stuff, the group that it belongs to? In that
Yeah,
sense?
if we did this one right, anything here,
Yeah.
yeah, in the donut. So if this was our example, then anything out here would be a similar case.
Wait, really?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, yeah, so if the big circle is changing things, and the little circle is sounds,
Okay.
right? Then any changing thing which is not a sound would be a similar case.
And so the syllogism would be true for all.
Those as well. Yeah, great. Right? If you take sound out,
Replace it with any other.
what could you put in there? Yeah, any other changing thing, and this is still going to be true.
Cleaver.
Yeah, and then like I said, if you needed like really quickly, if somebody said, "Give me a syllogism which is true," and you give them one, and they say, "Okay, give me another one."
Just change it to a similar
Swap
thing.
that, yeah, yeah. Dissimilar cases.
Unchanging.
Yeah, any unchanging thing. What's the reason?
The reason for the syllogism?
Here, what's the reason?
Because you made it. No. Because it's made.
Yeah, sound is made. Then what's the expression of the relationship between the subject and reason?
Say that again? What's
The expression of the relationship between the subject and the reason. What is that?
Because? No.
It's just the technical name for running test number one.
Consider
So what's test number one?
relationship.
Relationship between one and three,
Yeah. So what is it here?
sound and made.
Yeah, sound is made.
It's sound made.
Yeah.
The dove thinks so.
What's yes?
Just the reason. And 12 is expression of positive necessity. So which test is that?
It's two.
2. Yeah, so that's just test number 2. So what's the positive necessity in this?
If
If it's changing, it must be made.
Or
Or if it's made.
No,
if it's made, it must be changing, yeah. Yeah.
So you call that expression of
Expression of positive necessity.
positive necessity.
So what's the next one going to be?
Negative necessity.
Yeah, negative necessity. So that's 13.
I thought it was
Really?
12.
I think that's 12.
No, it's 13.
No, it's
13.
12,
Positive is
12 is positive necessity, 13 is negative necessity.
What's 11 then?
11 is
Expression of the
between
relationship
subject.
between subject.
test number 1.
Well then, shit, what's that?
And keep going. What's number 10? 10 is the reason.
Expression
10 is the
between,
reason.
oh, 10 is the reason.
because it's made.
And then 14 is example, which we said I didn't hardly talk about at all. But again, during a debate, at any point you can say, give me an example. And that's technically the fourth part of a syllogism. So if here you say, consider sound, it's changed because it's made. It's like, for example,
When doves cry.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, the singing of a bird, the dropping of a pen, the banging of a gong.
Could you review the negative necessity, please?
Yeah, so negative necessity is the third test. So that means if 2 is not true, then 3 must also not be true. So what? Yeah, we didn't do it. What is it in this example?
If it's not changing.
Must not be made.
Yeah. If it's unchanging, if it's not changing, then it can't have been made. Is that true?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, it is. Because we know from our chart, right? It's not up there anymore, I must have erased it. What's the synonym of changing?
Me.
Made. Right? So if something is not changing, if it's unchanging, then it must not be made. And you know that if you have the chart in your knowledge. What are our syllogisms or synonyms?
Functioning.
Work.
Yeah. Functioning or working, that's good. What else?
Moment.
Yeah, good. Any definition of any of these would be the same. So there's two more. We just did them. Anything which works does something, which means it produces a
Result.
result. Yeah. And anything which is a result must have been a
Cause.
So those are all. Okay. Cool. Any questions on that? So it's again another simple way to do debating with somebody. Just say you can't give me the position denied by the syllogism consider sound of changing because it's made. No, that's not true. I can. Okay, well then what is it? This sound is unchanging. And you can practice that so that you learn all the parts. You have all the parts down. But the most important ones are these. I would say these last four to be on the test. Like I said, everything eventually just distills down to can you make a 3-part syllogism and run the 3 tests on it. That's really. Again, if there was only one thing that you learned from either of these 2 weekends or any of the classes, that's the only thing that I want you to remember. What are the 3 parts of the syllogism, how do I make one, and how to run the 3 tests on it. It all boils down to that. Okay, so here, everybody take one of these.
Is space not a working? Doesn't work?
Correct.
Doesn't perform a function?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. It just is. Ben Kramer loved to mess with the people at the monastery. Ben Kramer loved to mess with the monks at the monastery by saying, well, what about the space that this object occupies?
That's my mind going there.
And he would say, it's changing. And they would say, no, it's space that can't be changing. He would say, oh, it changed. Oh, it changed.
Yeah.
But that's possible. You could say that if you wanted, but then you're not talking about space. If you're talking about the space of the object, that's not space, right? And that probably would be changing, because that would have to be wherever the thing is. You know, so you do that. Ben Kramer loves to do that. Like,
And when it's occupied or unoccupied, it didn't change from occupied to unoccupied.
right, because what space does is give objects a place to be.
Oh, yeah.
So if when you put the object in the space, if the space changed, then the object couldn't be there. See, whether there's something in the object or not in the object, space still allows for an object to be there. So even if it's there, what's the space doing? It's allowing for the object to be there, in this case, the pen.
Just like music and rest.
But allows is a function.
Thank you.
That's
And I was just going to say,
allows and gives is performing a function.
Well then, yeah, then I need to be more careful with my
No,
vocabulary.
it's passive. It's available. It's not something.
Yeah,
that's
to
valid.
allow something to give something is a verb.
Grammatically, yeah, but not in this sense. Not grammatically.
Yeah, it's a relationship dependence. It's not a cause and effect relationship.
It's not made.
Yeah. I mean, the space is not doing anything when it allows something to be in that space. The space is not actually doing anything.
So it's like time allows things to happen in a way.
Yeah.
would occupy space not allow another object to occupy it?
The object, not the space, right?
Because
It
it's an
isn't the
obstruction.
space.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the object is being the obstruction, not that somehow the space has changed into becoming an obstruction.
Yeah. I'm just trying
Because
to
yeah,
work the synonyms.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like the
If it did
emptiness.
that, then the object couldn't be there.
It's kind of like the emptiness doesn't serve to bring you to enlightenment. I mean,
Right.
This empty space doesn't serve to give that.
Right, were
place
you
to
there
be.
when we
Yeah.
did that? Yeah.
So I'm saying,
Yeah,
can you apply it to that?
Yeah, it's the same. The emptiness can't do anything, right? It's the perception of emptiness which lets us get out of suffering. So in the same way the space doesn't do anything, it just allows for the thing to be there.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's tricky, right? And we don't usually think of space that way. When we were trying to think of space as the empty space between here and there, which is different, again. Right? Or the space that an object occupies as it moves around, that's also something different, not the same thing. Okay, everybody got one? We have enough? Okay. All right, so I just took this, I think it's from reading 4. I'm not totally sure, I checked a couple different things. I wanted to do something from the C8A class, and they were too trippy. So I thought this one is easier for a first go around. Okay, so here's the first. Suppose someone comes and makes the following claim. Anything which can be established as existing is always either a cause or result or both. Consider noble things. It is then always the case, either a cause or result or both, because it is a thing which can be established as existing. It's incorrect to say that a thing which can be established as existing. Suppose you say it's incorrect to say that noble things is a thing which can be established as existing. Consider the same thing. It is so a thing which can be established as existing because it can be established through valid perception as existing. And I agree with your original statement. Noble things is always either a cause or result or both. Suppose you agree with our original statement. Consider this same thing. It is not so that noble things is either a cause or result or both because it is not a working thing. It is not correct to say noble things is not a working thing. Suppose you say that it's not correct to say that noble things is not a working thing. Consider this same thing. It is so true that it's not a working thing because it is an unchanging thing. All right, what do you think? Did you get anything out of it?
I think whenever they say consider the same thing, it's trying to be more explicit. I think it's like that swapping.
No, it's obscuring.
Oh, it's obscuring.
Yeah, it's obscuring. Yeah, good. The reason, see, if you can look at if I can sort of explain the Tibetan for a second, the first syllogism is given, literally it says, consider noble things, they are because that is true. See, so they're intentionally obscuring it so that you have to know the process of debating, or else what that is referring to what. It says, you can't do that, right, in English writing. You can't say that is true because of that. Because what is that referring to then? Like, you can't know, right? So the only way to know is to know. Is to have somebody explain to you what that's referring to. So if Geshe Michael had just done a straight translation, this first syllogism would have been, consider noble things, it is so then, because it is a that. Right? It doesn't make any sense. You can't do anything with it. So what he did was then he decided, okay, I'll put these brackets in. So whenever you see brackets, that's Geshe Michael adding information so that you know what the that is referring to, which isn't in the original text, because they don't want you to know, unless you know how to know. What? Does that make sense? Just again, so that in case, like, your rival gets your debate book and they look through it, they can't just, if they study your debate book, they would know all your answers and they could give you a hard time, right? So, what's that?
Debate.
Yeah. The Dura text. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So the first thing you can see, if we start from the top, basically the way you always will start, talk about this a little bit too, the way you always start the debate is you say something. And then you're always going to want them to disagree, because that's how you start a debate. But here, basically the person agrees. So basically the defender, so there's always an attacker and a defender, right? So the defender is saying anything that can be established as existing is a cause, a result, or both. Is that true? No, why not?
Because unchanging things are also existing.
Yeah, if you go to your chart, right? No, I don't have it up there. So let's put it up there. All things, noble things, object, things that have emptiness. I didn't put up categories of existence, which is Shidrup, if you can read the Tibetan. Here, Geshe Michael translated Shidrup as established as existing. Okay. So established as existing is synonymous with noble things, object, thing, or things that have emptiness. Okay? Yeah. So what they said is consider established as existing. It always has to be a cause, a result, or both. So then how do you know that's not true? Because this is a synonym with this half, and you've got a whole separate half, right, of your chart. So if you have the chart in your mind, you automatically know that's going to be false. All you have to do is give an example of a unchanging thing. All right, but instead, if this was going to be simple, or if we were just trying to make this really easy for everyone, the guy would have said, well, that's not true because emptiness, because facts, because space. But instead, he said, consider knowable things. Now, why would that be weird?
Knowable things.
What is knowable things?
It's
On our chart.
synonym as all beings established.
Yeah.
It's the same
Perception.
as
Yeah.
established as existing.
Yeah, he gave a synonym for established as existing. Why would he do that?
Confusion.
To be confusing. I think so. If we wanted it to be easy, if he wanted us to just read this and understand it, he would have said consider space, we would have been done. But instead he said consider knowable things. But he did something tricky. If you look really closely, what did he do there?
Quotes.
He put it in quotes. Consider knowable things. So that's significant.
So then
Why is that significant?
he uses the concept, which is unchanging.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. He's not talking about the category of knowable things. That wouldn't work. That wouldn't solve this problem. He's talking about the idea of knowable things. The concept of knowable things.
So how is the quotations depicted in the Tibetan?
It's not.
Wow.
It's not. You would just struggle with this. You're 13 years old, you're memorizing this in Tibetan, and you go to the background, you have no clue what the hell they're talking about, why this is true. But in your class, then, they would explain the difference between wrongzins and cheatsins. What's a wrongzin? Does anybody know? Have we talked about it?
So,
Yeah, wrong means self. What's
mine?
Yeah, no, I can't really cheat it at all. No, that's the thing that Bogdan's always talking about. Wrongzins and cheatsins. Wrongzin is the thing itself, and the cheatsin is the idea of the thing. So, wrongzin, cheatsin. So basically what happens is, when you're doing these debates as a little Tibetan kid, you're going to figure out, I need to know whether he's talking about the wrongzin of the thing or the cheatsin of the thing. Because if he's talking about the wrongzin of the thing, and I think he's thinking about the wrongzin of the thing, and he's actually talking about the cheatsin of the thing, I'm going to get nailed.
And that's what you're going to get nailed anyway, because you don't know that, and he could
He could go either way.
He could switch it.
Yeah, if we were doing this live,
Yeah.
and you don't ask, yeah, then I can go either way.
Yeah.
And you're going to be wrong no matter what you say.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So one is changing and one is not changing in both those examples, right? The pen is like...
No.
No.
Close. The idea is unchanging thing, right? Because that's concept.
Yeah.
But what's noble things itself?
It's all things.
Yeah, it's the top of the chart.
Oh,
Right. Yeah.
right.
Okay. So consider noble things. Wink, wink. Nudge, nudge. It is then a cause, result, or both. Because it can be established as existing. Now, I kind of want to, well, you know what I was thinking? Existed, I was thinking quotes, but quotes means concept, right? So I feel like I want to put dashes in here. And feel free to do that on your reading if that's helpful, because this is one of those cases where it's just easier to start using the Tibetan, because we don't, what Geshe Michael did was he took one Tibetan word, shidra, and he translated it as a phrase. So that can be difficult for us, right? If we read this as because established as existing, it's really established as existing, right? It's one thing, not a verb and a noun. Does that make sense? So consider noble things. Noble things is a cause and result because it's established as existing. Is that true? Meaning, consider sheja. Is it a cause or result because it's a shudra?
I want to say no, but I
Because
can't.
it's the concept.
Oh, let's keep going. It's okay. What happens next in the text? Can you tell?
3 becomes 2.
Consider noble things. It is then that because it is that. What's the next thing you hit? In the English. What's it say?
It's incorrect.
It's incorrect. Yes, thank you. So if you look at the Tibetan, it says Madrupna, and you just have to. If you learn to read Tibetan, then you'll learn that that means this, which is pronounced drup, not drup. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. That's the reason why you should study Tibetan. But anyway, that says Madrupna. So Madrupna, again, is a code for what do you think? Takmadrup. Yeah. Madrupna means Takmadrup, right? Which means the test, so what they're saying when they say it is incorrect. So, I don't know if we did this. When you, if a syllogism fails test number 1, what do you say in Tibetan?
Reasons not established.
Is that Tibetan?
Takmadrup.
Takmadrup, yes. Which means what?
Reasons not established.
Reason not established. Yeah, tak is reason, drup is established, ma is always not, unless it means mother. So takmadrup is reason not established, but reason not established doesn't mean anything, right? What does reason not established really mean?
That's nonsense. No.
It doesn't relate.
Doesn't apply.
Yeah, it doesn't relate.
No relationship between 1 and 3. Yeah. So don't, if you use takmadrup or reason not established, don't think that has something to do with reason. It doesn't. Remember, takmadrup means what you're saying is it fails test number 1.
Yeah.
There's no relationship between the subject and the reason, right? So when it says incorrect, madrupna, what he's saying is the guy, when you gave him the syllogism, consider noble things, it is that because it's this. He said takmadrup, which means there's no relationship between the subject and the reason. So what do we do next as the attacker?
We swap 3 for 2.
Yeah. Yeah, we, one,
Keep going.
he's doing logic. Yeah, one stays the same, then what happens?
You put 3 where 2 is.
Yeah, three goes where 2 is, and a new number 3.
Yeah.
So let's look at it. What does it say? Consider this same thing. So again, code, right? What do you mean this? This what? What are you talking about?
Same subject.
But we know, yeah, that next step is the same subject. So when it says consider this same thing, that means consider noble
Noble
things. We
things.
haven't changed it yet.
Noble.
Yeah, good. Noble things. It is so a thing established as existing because it can be established through valid perception. What are you doing?
It's a mind practice. Yeah.
Miming with voices.
Yeah, the noise of wind or acting.
Loudest, minus.
Loudest mimes I've ever heard. Yeah. See now. So this is basically what I wanted to teach you in a nutshell. So you see how it's following this structure. Exactly in the reading, it did what we expected to do. Consider the same thing. The subject saying the same. It took the reason and made it the assertion. Can be established as existing, and then came up with a new reason established through valid perception as existing. So you see it? Okay. So this is what you have to know if you want to be able to read these things. If you don't know this, then you can't read this. It's just a bunch of thises and that's, and you don't know what anything's referring to, or why did they just say that?
Yeah.
Like it won't make any sense to you. But if you study this, then you can follow this this structure, and then you can read these things and figure it out and learn stuff from it. Okay, so now, and the next thing, what does it say next in English?
And I agree with the original statement.
Yeah, then I agree. So in the Tibetan, that's the Sawar Duna. What does "de" mean in Tibetan? Does anybody know? In English?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, when you agree with the guy, you say "de." Means I accept it. I agree with your position, right? So "duna" is if. So if they agree, Sawa means the main. So now they're saying if they agree with the main argument. So he's saying, okay, I accept this. So let's go back to the first syllogism. So then that's what they're going to do now. They're going to go back.
Original statement.
What's that?
That's what they say, go back to the original statement.
Yeah. So now we go back to our first syllogism. And then he says, okay, yeah, you're right. But now what's the problem with that? Can this be right for him? What was the first thing the defender said?
Tatmadru.
No, the very beginning, the top, right? He said anything which can be established as existing is a cause, result, or both.
Oh, the defender, sorry.
Yeah. So this is what he's saying now, right? So he's going to go, okay, you're right. You got me. You're right. This is true. But is it true? No. It's wrong, right? That's the whole reason why we started the debate. So then what he's going to say is, but if it passes test number 1 now, which it does, then what do we do next? Test number 2. So we go to test number 2. If something fails test number 2, what do you say in Tibetan? Does anybody know? Karamajun, yeah. If it fails test 2 and or test number 3, as they all tend to do, then you say Karamajun.
Can you say that slower?
Yeah.
Can you write it?
Kava? Can I write it clearly? Probably not. Copy off someone else. Kava, K-Y-A-V or P. It doesn't, we don't have the sound in English, so P's or B's or as right or as wrong is either one. Ma again is not, and chung. So Kava means kyap. Does anyone know what kyap means? It means to cover. So Karamajun means that doesn't cover it, right? Not necessarily. So in English we usually say not necessarily. You know, just because this is true doesn't mean that is true. In a nutshell. And that's so that they say what we say positive necessity, right? Necessity, pervasion, these are all the same things. So we say you fail test number 2, you fail positive necessity. My answer is not necessarily. Does that make sense? Okay. So what's the positive necessity here?
Of the original, right?
Yeah, the original one. You have
So, all existing things must have a cause.
If
established
as existing, then it must have a cause and result.
Yeah. Anything which is established as existing, again meaning Shidra. So I got my little dashes in here, even though you can't probably see it. Anything which is established as existing must be a cause, result, or both. Okay. So let's look at the text and see what it says. Suppose I agree, consider the same thing. It is not so that knowable thing is a cause, or result, or both. And then he gives a reason. So now he's disagreeing with that pervasion. See? Is it true that this is necessarily that? He's saying no. Right? So consider knowable thing. It is not so. Which I would assume refers to established existing, but let's check. Okay, okay, that's fine. That noble things is a cause, result, or both. Okay, so he's skipping a bit, that's fine. It is not this is that. He's doing them both. It is not so that anything established is he must be a cause, result, or both, because that's okay. Because it is not a working thing.
It being noble things in quotes.
Yeah. So is that true?
Yes. No noble thing in quotes is not a working.
It's a clean top and it's on the unchanging.
Yeah, theoretically you should have said, let's run the free test.
Right.
But, that's okay.
Why was
I'm
the
throwing a lot at
section
you.
in the way that it was? Why isn't it considered then knowable things? It is
Yeah,
not knowable
good.
things, it's
That's
not
why-
a result of both.
Yeah,
It seems
good.
like that's a heavy
No, that's a good question.
assertion.
I'm gonna put some blue dots here and let's come back to that in a second.
Okay.
Let's just check this right now first. So, what's the first test?
Related.
Is related. Is knowable thing not a working thing?
Because we have it, so it's covered.
It is not a working thing.
Well then, yeah, then that's fine. So is this true then? Yeah, it's not, right? Why not? Because we're talking about the concept.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about a fact, right? So facts are over there, facts are unchanging, right? So if it's unchanging, then it's not a working thing. So we're cool. Okay? Cool.
Yeah, fails test number
Some
one.
of you, yeah, so it fails test number one. Or, well, actually, no, it's good.
No, it's good. It passes.
Pass test number one.
Does it?
Yeah, because knowable.
Oh, sorry, yeah, because it's not working thing.
Yeah,
So not a
if
working.
we take the quotes out, does it pass?
No.
No, right? So that's where Geshe Michael's giving you a big help. And where if you were just reading this, you would be dying. You'd be like, wait a minute,
It's only a lot.
knowable thing is not a working thing, but on my chart, like, see, you'd be in trouble. But he put the quotes in there for you, so you can, right, when he's talking about the cheats-in, when he's talking about the concept, all concepts are unchanging, so of course it's not working. Yeah, sure, great. Okay.
And how did he know that? Just from how it shook out?
What do you mean? I mean, we don't know. Like, if you're a little Tibetan kid, you wouldn't know that. Like I said, at first you would just memorize this, and you'd be like, this doesn't make any sense at all. And then you'd go to your class, and your teacher would say, well, is it a cheat-in or wrong-sin? You'd be like, I didn't think about that. And then you'd go through and you'd read it. Oh, what's it going to read like if it's a wrong-sin? That doesn't make any sense. What's it read like if it's a cheat-in? Oh, I get it. He's talking about the cheat-in.
What if it were without the quotes though?
Which is never in the book, right? It makes it impossible. So you can't read these things.
It's an
Somebody
opportunity
has to like
to be
explain stuff.
confused on purpose so you can go to the teacher and they sound like they know everything.
No.
Sorry.
Really.
That's
But we're
just being
without the-
sarcastic. It is.
Yeah,
If it were without the quotes, then the objection would be emptiness, space,
Yeah.
fact.
Yeah, like I said, if you wanted to do this much simpler and not confuse the hell out of everybody,
Right.
you would just say, oh, that's true. Yeah, consider space then. So I guess space is a working thing.
Right, because only functioning things can be controversial.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the searching and the confusion gets you to learn versus believe.
Theoretically, we're supposed to benefit from
Yeah.
this painful exercise. Okay, and what does it say next? In the English.
It's not correct to say.
It's not correct. Stephen's with me. It's not correct. And if you look at the Tibetan, then it says Madrupna. So what's that mean? Talking group. So they say talking group. What does that mean?
Reasons and sums.
Yeah, which means
Field test number one.
fails test number one. So let's look at our syllogism. If he says it fails test number one, what is he saying?
One's not related, the subject's not related to the
Reason.
reason.
Yeah, which here means?
A working thing is not related to, in brackets, the concept of knowable.
He'd be saying, no, knowable things are working things.
Hmm.
You get it?
So when he says consider this same thing, the reference of same thing is it the whole concept of the syllogism?
No.
Or is it like consider the subject?
It's going back
No,
to
it
the-
just means the subject hasn't changed, right? Which we
Why
know.
don't you just write the subject then?
Because then it would be easy. We don't want that. Someday we probably do, but right now we don't. We don't care about
So again,
other people
consider the concept of
making us-
knowable thing.
Yeah, so when it says consider the same thing, that means noble thing just stays the same, doesn't change. And it says it is so true that it's not a working thing, because now we're answering him, right? Because it is an unchanging thing. So what did he do? They said Tachman group, right? So then what do we come back with?
Move 3 to 2.
Yep, subject stays the same. Move
Yeah, then you 3.
Move 3 up to number 2. Make a new number 3. What's a new number 3?
It's
It's an unchanged.
Yeah, because it's unchanging. And then at this point, the guy's thinking, what the hell does he mean? Noble thing is not unchanging. Noble thing is unchanging.
And he's going to
And
go,
then he's like,
ah.
he's talking about the concept, noble thing. Of course, that's unchanging.
Why didn't you say that?
Why did you say that at the beginning?
Yeah. Which is what we would do in English.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then theoretically, on the debate ground, what you do is you go back up through everything so that everybody's clear about what's going on. So then he accepts, theoretically now, since it stops, he accepts, oh, I get it, yeah, noble thing is unchanging. Sure, of course. So it's not true that noble thing is established existing and is a cause and is a result, because we're talking about the concept of noble thing. All right, I get it. Okay, so you're saying noble thing isn't established as existing. Yeah. Well,
So what's the Tibetan for it is so true?
it's not a cause result. What's that?
What's the Tibetan for it is so true?
Dare tell.
Very tough.
Yeah. Yeah, then we come back up here and he says, okay, I get it. It's not true that noble thing is a cause or a result, or both.
Because you meant noble thing
Because you
as a
meant noble
concept.
thing, which is on the other half of my
Yeah.
chart. So,
What does sincere mean?
so noble over here, Nyingpo, noble thing. Because noble thing is over here, then it can't be over here, right? Because these are mutually exclusive. One half to the other. To be one is to not be the other. Okay? Woohoo! Yeah, you read a Tibetan debate book. Anyway, so that's how it goes. So then what I always offer, that nobody ever takes me up on, is grab some other, like go to course 13 and grab some other little bit like this. And I guess you might even separate some with dotted lines. So grab one little section of dotted lines and see if you can make out the structure of what's going on.
Like,
And
write it out. Okay?
yeah, I would recommend writing it out. And then if you get stuck and you can't figure it out, you're like, well, I don't get why he went here, then email me and I'll help you. And my email
It's gonna be a long thread.
is LOBSANGNYINGPO@gmail.
Lobsan. It's now on the internet.
Okay. Anything else? Anything else that doesn't make sense now, or I went over too fast, or don't get it? But the main thing, like I said, is just to understand the structure of what's going on. They're all going to be like this. Every time it's going to start with Takmadrup, basically the bad guy's going to say the bad guy's going to say Takmadrup, and so then he's going to do 3, he's going to move to 2, he's going to come up with a new reason. There may be 2 or 3 iterations of that. Then he's going to say, okay, I agree. And then he's going to say, you can't agree because your original assertion is wrong and here's why. And then we'll go down through it again, possibly 2 or 3 more iterations of the same process. And theoretically, the reason why they do that is if you do it this way, then you cover all the tests, right? So then you know what must be true because you did both. Like in a logic tree, right? It forks, yes or no, and then it goes down. So if you do both forks, then you've covered everything. Right? If they only covered Takmadrup, then you still wouldn't know for sure that it was true because maybe it fails the second test. But if they do the first test and the second test, then that covers it. Okay, cool. Yep. All right, well, let's take a little break again then, and then I'll talk some about the structure of debating and what it looks like and why we do it and all that good stuff. Thank you.